Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I'll let you know what I thought about them. And we always start with the pick of the week. And this week's pick of the week, Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell, issue number 1 from Marvel Comics. Now, this is written by Charles Soule with artwork by Steve McNiven. They, of course, have worked together before, especially on The Death of Wolverine. I wasn't that big of a fan. I wasn't that big of a fan of Charles Soule's Daredevil run, so I wasn't really looking forward to this book. And what it's billed as, of sorts, is a Dark Knight Returns for Daredevil, which is kind of an interesting concept. I know we've kind of had Daredevil as an old man kind of stories before, but this one is really going after Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. And of course, this cover is by Frank Miller. This is one of the variants. You know I love my Frank Miller, and I think that's one of the most solid of his Marvel covers. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. But this one's really going for it, and it excels. It soars. It actually nails that assignment and crafts something truly unique, visionary, and interesting at the same time as being an homage. And when I talk about the homage and the Dark Knight Returns-ness of it, you can see it in like the 16-panel grid that's used throughout most of the pages that Frank Miller used in Dark Knight Returns. You can see it in some of the way that Steve McNiven is inking his work. And let me double check and make sure that Steve McNiven is the inker. I think we got the credits at the end here. Yeah, he's doing the inking. The only other member of this team is Clayton Cowles. So that means he's doing the coloring as well. Steve McNiven's doing the coloring as well. The artwork is what elevates this. Now, of course, they're using references stylistically to The Dark Knight Returns, to Frank Miller's work there, with the layout, with the composition, with the pace, hell, even with the story itself, because the story is about a Daredevil who's an older man who has kind of lost his powers, and now he decides to get back into the game. But for what reason, right? So it has a lot of similarities, but it's able to uniquely define itself outside of that as well. I was really surprised by this. I was blown away. I loved the story. I loved the interpretation of the characters. I loved the artwork and the flow and the composition, the coloring, the lettering. Everything was great. It's one of the best Marvel comics I've read in 2025. Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell, the pick of the week. All right. Also from Marvel, we have Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe one last time. Just like Vin Diesel, aka Dom Toretto in the Fast and Furious franchise, one last time. One final ride, right? So that's what this is. It's Cullen Bunn coming back to the world of just telling a goofy, silly Deadpool story where he kills a bunch of the Marvel heroes, and that's what's going on here. He's taking on various iterations through the multiverse of these characters. So you have like, you know, World Breaker Hulk, you have, I'm blanking right now, World Breaker Hulk, you got interesting interpretations or interesting versions of the characters that are being utilized here. And he's going from multiverse to multiverse, but it wasn't a bad book. It was actually pretty cool. I enjoyed it. For instance, he goes after Superior Spider-Man. That's something we haven't seen in one of these books yet. But I enjoyed the book. I thought it was all right. It's silly. It's fun. And the arc by Talibor Dalajik, it was absolutely fantastic. So I had a lot of fun with that one. It didn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time wasn't super dumb. Then we got Marvel Rivals. So one-shots based on a game. Now, obviously, I've not played this game, but I decided I would give the comic book a fair shot, and it's all right. It's fine. It's just a one-shot, oversized comic book. It is $6.99. It comes with an in-game Jeff the Landshark spray code or something if you're interested in that. Aside from that, it is, you know, I'm not familiar with the lore of the game, but it seems like a bunch of different versions of Marvel characters pulled throughout the multiverse, fighting against each other, like an excuse to have like superheroes fight. And it was all right, and it was decent. I think if you're a fan of the game, you might want to check this one out. It wasn't bad. It wasn't boring. It was kind of fun all the way through. It was decent. It was a decent comic. Kind of surprised me, honestly. Then we get Ironheart Bad Chemistry, issue number 1. It's just a one-shot as well, kind of picking up some of the threads from a Marvel Voices book they did either earlier this year or last year. I don't know. I didn't read that one, but it's continuing that story, and it's okay. It was kind of weak. It's an Ironheart story. They're anticipating the arrival of the show. They got to get some more Ironheart content out there so they can do a collected edition or something. I know, it's all right. If you're a big Ironheart fan and you're just eking to have her like come back and see more of her adventures, this is for you for sure. It wasn't necessarily ultra bad. It just didn't really do much for me. It was okay. One interesting thing I did pick up on it though is that it does kind of have like a very old school vibe to the story and the way everybody is. The villains are very villainous and the heroes are very heroic and there's a lot of exposition. It's okay. It's okay. It's an okay book. Then we get Concert of Champions, issue number 1. Also a one-shot. Lots of one-shots from Marvel this week. Concert of Champions was lame. I didn't like this one. I guess it's following up from stuff from that Dazzler series they just wrapped up. I only read like the first issue of that, maybe the second one. I wasn't vibing with it. I wasn't vibing with this one. It's okay. There's like a concert tour or a night or something where it's like Luna Snow and it's Dazzler and everybody else in the Marvel Universe that you know as a musician all there together, and then some big bads show up, and I don't know, it's all right, I guess. If you're a huge Dazzler fan and you really liked that last book, this is your follow-up. It's just a one-shot though. Maybe more to come. Then we got Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, the 10th anniversary special, issue number 1. Also a one-shot. Marvel has a lot of one-shots out this week. This was all right. This was cute. It was fun. It was charming. You got a story. So this is celebrating 10 years of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Brandon Montclair, who we've had on the channel, does the first story because he was the first writer and the creator, I believe, of this character. And so that was a nice, fun, cute, charming little story. And then at the end, you have a story where Moon Girl is now Devil Girl with Moon Dino. Maybe an alternate reality set in the future, something like that. But that seems like it's a story by Justina Ireland that is setting up more stuff to come in the pages of future Moon Girl comic books. So it was cute, it was charming, it was decent, it was fine. All right, let's talk about this one. All New Venom, issue number 5. This is the reveal of who All New Venom is. And don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Even though Marvel's already spoiled it, everybody's already spoiled it, I'm going to ask everybody not to spoil it in the chat. But I do want to hear what you think about the reveal. My thoughts on this. I already have not been liking Al Ewing's Venom run at all. I dropped out of it. New number 1, I jumped in. I said, I'm not really vibing with this book. I don't really like it. However, I'll stick around until they reveal who the all-new Venom is. They reveal it here, and straight up, stupid as shit. It's just dumb. It's so stupid. At least to me. If it's not stupid to you, I guess that's fine. But for me, it's pretty dumb. It's pretty stupid. And I thought it sucked. Enough said. I'm not reading any more of that book. All right, then we got X-Men issue number 14. We'll elaborate more on this on Rockin' Robbie Live, maybe, on Sunday night when we can spoil a little bit more. X-Men number 14. Ryan Stegman is back, and that's interesting and cool. Still not the Ryan Stegman that I want to see on this book, but at least he's back on the book. So the art was fine. It was decent. Maybe a little bit too chiselly. I don't know. I like Ryan Stegman, but there's some pages in here that really work. Then there's some stuff that really doesn't. There's some interesting stuff going on, though, here. So one of the kids that came across the X-Men and asked them to help them, whose mother hates mutants, she's been missing. So the X-Men are enlisted to go find her. It's kind of a Quentin-centric issue, but not solely Quentin-centric. Some big moments happen in this issue. I liked it. Jed MacKay's X-Men, at first I wasn't really vibing with it, and then I decided to catch back up, and reading like the first like 6 or 7 in like one sitting kind of helped me get back into the flow of the story. And since then, it's been decent. We've had a couple crossovers and stuff like that, but aside from that, it's a decent enough X title. I'm not bored with it per se. Yeah, I guess that's what I say. It's all right. It's all right. Then we got Psylocke here with issue number 6. I thought this was just going to be a 5-issue series, but I'm glad it's actually continuing because I thought those first 5 issues, that first story arc, was actually pretty interesting. I liked it a lot. I like the character Psylocke, always have. Now it's straight up the original Psylocke, but not the Betsy Psylocke, and I like that too. I like that aspect to it. There's a lot of interesting themes being explored here. Here, we're kind of following up from the last arc. Psylocke was poisoned by some stuff that's making her hallucinate, so now she's dealing with that. So I like how they set up in the first story, getting into the second story. That's like storytelling 101, especially in comic books. Set something up, pay it off, set something up, pay it off, like string some stuff through. But so far, I'm really still liking Psylocke. The art in this one is a little bit wonky, to be honest with you, but I still like the story. Then we got Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu, issue number 7. This is a fun issue of Moon Knight. So this artist is Domenico Carbone, and it's not obviously Cappuccio or anything like that, but it is dynamic, it is kinetic, and even since Cappuccio has been off of this title, and even when he was on the title but off for a few issues here and there, they always brought an artist who would try to replicate that very kinetic style, and then the coloring and everything. This is super fun. So basically Moon Knight and his team, they need the help of Hank Pym, but nobody can find him, so they decide, let's dress up as supervillains and threaten his daughter and see if he shows up. It's a crazy idea, but heck, it's Moon Knight and his team, so it fits. I'm liking this book. Jed MacKay's been killing it. This issue is no exception. Then we got Ultimate X-Men issue number 14. This was one of those issues of Ultimate X-Men where I went, what's going on? Again, what's going on? Like, I was pretty certain that I loved the last issue and was like, man, this is everything's hitting the fan. This is awesome. In this issue, I'm like, what's going on? I was a little slightly confused. 14 issues in, though, I do want to spotlight Peach Momoko. All the other Ultimate books have had fill-in artists. Peach Momoko's been able to keep with a more than monthly schedule and has done 14 issues in a row. That's pretty impressive. I think she deserves all the props for that. Story-wise, starting to get a little confusing to me here. Maybe because I'm just kind of not remembering who certain characters are or how long they've been in certain spots. There's a nice payoff to something from the earlier parts of the series, though. But the artwork is fantastic. Artwork is fantastic. Lots of cool, like, horrific type things, but more in a PG-13 kind of way. But all in all, I still like it, but I felt a little lost in this issue, to be honest. All right, let's jump over to DC. We get Absolute Green Lantern issue number 1. It's a new one. It's from Al Ewing. I can't say I'm necessarily a fan of Al Ewing's work. Jonoy Lindsay on the artwork. The artwork has kind of like a manga-ish style. It definitely does. The story it's different enough. So when I read this like a month ago, and I told everybody on my live stream, like, yeah, to me it was like the most boring out of all of the Absolute number 1s so far. And maybe that holds true, but honestly, reading it today as a second read with it in hand, I kind of vibed with it a little bit better. So I thought it was interesting. Hal Jordan already has like Jon Stewart and Joe Sojourner and I think Guy Gardner in his life. So these people are already friends. And then Abin Sur and the Green Lantern show up, and it's in a way different and way more dramatic way than it was done before. So there's some interesting bits here. It wasn't necessarily a slow burn, but it took its time to be deliberate, to be intentional, and to set who Hal is and what his world is and how that world gets changed by something major and how the people around him's life gets changed too. I liked it. I thought it was pretty solid. I'm interested to know what you thought. Then we get Absolute Superman issue number 6. Absolute Superman issue number 6 has a fill-in artist. It's Carmine Dijon Domenico. I am a fan of his work, but it does feel like they are trying to make this... They're trying to make his work feel more like Sandoval's work. So you can tell that it's Carmine Dijon Domenico, but it also has... It's missing some of the grit and texture that I like in his artwork, but the art's fine throughout it. We get the whole story about Smallville and the Kent farm, how it relates to the origin of this iteration of Superman, Absolute Superman. So what was Ma and Pa Kent to him? How did he come about the farm? What resulted out of that story? Plus you get a reveal of a big bad that should have been very obvious to us. And if you hadn't pieced it together, by the end of this issue, you're going to feel dumb probably. Like I did. Yep. Also from DC, we have Resurrection Man, Quantum, Karma, issue number 1. This was a contender for the pick of the week. This is a character that doesn't really get talked about a lot. Resurrection Man, there was a really cool book back in the day, like the 90s. I think Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning did it, if I remember that right. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's about a dude who dies, and every time he dies, he resurrects, but he resurrects with a different set of superpowers, right? So let's bring in Ram V and Anand RK to do a Resurrection Man book. DC Black Label, set outside of continuity. They can do whatever they want to with this character. And it kicks off with some really cool ideas and amazing, amazing artwork. This book is genius. It is absolutely stunning. It is stellar. I loved how Ram is playing with the concept of Resurrection Man and using it in a very poetic way. The artwork by Anand RK is masterful. Mike Spicer on the coloring. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is beautiful. It is interesting. It is deep. It is introspective. Resurrection Man, Quantum, Karma. I was really impressed with that Daredevil Cold Day in Hell, but this one, either of those two could have made the pick of the week. I guess I just thought it'd be more interesting if I picked a Marvel book for a change, but this one could work too, honestly. JSA number 6 is here. Art's a little bit wonky, but the story has been solidifying for me. I've been really enjoying it, and a lot of crazy stuff happens in this book. If you are a JSA fan, you might want to read this book. Elements of it might piss you off. Elements of it might be too much for you. There are elements of this that I think were too much for me that maybe I didn't necessarily like, but at the same time, it felt big. And now I kind of get why Jeff Lemire started this story where he did. I don't know, though. It does feel like the end of a run. I'll tell you that. JSA number 6, though, I loved the story. I loved some of those beats there. There's some issues, I think, just based on expectation and what I would want as a fan. And the artwork was a bit wonky, but altogether it was okay. Then we got Justice League, the Atom Project, issue number 4. The story's really coming together. Captain Atom, the Atoms have been using Captain Atom, who had lost his powers as a result of the absolute power stuff. They were using him as kind of like a guinea pig to experiment on and try to figure out how they can bring their powers back. Turns out Captain Atom can now absorb people's powers at will and then transfer them. And here he's facing off against Major Force. It's big, it's explosive. They're telling 2 stories, one set in the present day, one set in the not so distant past. And they're starting to really synchronize and come together tonally, and also with the reveal of what's going on in both stories. I'm really liking the book, really liking that cover by my boy Mark Spears. So definitely cool and worth checking out. Batgirl issue number 6 ends its first arc and sets up perfectly the next arc. This ends this story, Mother, where Lady Shiva comes back to find Cassandra Cain. She needs her help. There's this group of people, kind of like an offshoot of the League of Assassins a little bit, that are after her. Batgirl has to team up with her. They have to deal with a lot of their shit, their undealt with stuff, right? And they do. It's got a great cover. It's got a really cool vibe and flow to the story. It gets a bit talky at times, especially in the beginning, but then that irons out with some really great action sequences, and the coloring and the color choices are really solid. And I love the way this ended. Tate Bromball, the writer, is really nailing the tone of what this Batgirl Cassandra Cain book should be. Then we got Poison Ivy issue number 32. What is Poison Ivy doing that it hasn't been doing for 31 issues already? Just being excellent, consistent, interesting, and exciting. The book has always great artwork that's organic and textured, and you feel the ferocity of the battle here. It always does interesting things with the relationships of the characters, and it really does use the Green and Pamela Isley and her power set in very interesting ways. Not saying that this is something akin to Alan Moore's Swamp Thing work, but it really is honoring some of that work and being, or at least trying to be, in a mainstream way, as innovative as some of those comics may have been. Now, obviously, it's not as innovative as some of those comics because they were breaking new ground. This is building on that foundation, not just with the artwork, but especially with the ideas. And I really appreciate that. Then we got Batman 614, the Hush facsimiles. I've been collecting these up because I plan on doing a read-through of them for Rockin' Robbie Live. revisiting them. I haven't read them in forever, and I have a low opinion of it. Maybe that opinion will change, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe we're all just waiting on me to say, next up, Image. And from Image, we have I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer, issue number 1. This was a real fun book. Now, it's written by Doug Wagner with artwork by Daniel Hilliard, and they, of course, are the team that have brought us great books like the 2 plastic books, Vinyl, Plush. This is right along in that spirit, right? So this is about a woman who is a very gifted fashion designer, and it just so happens she loves to make her fashions out of human body parts, like the skin and the bones and stuff like that, right? So she is a legit serial killer who kills really bad people and then makes beautiful clothing with them. So she goes to this fashion school and instantly all the cliques are forming. She doesn't fit in. She's an outsider, but she's trying to suppress the urge to kill because she's there to learn. So then you have that interesting conflict within and without. This was a really fun comic. If you like their work together, Wagner and Hilliard, which I'm a big fan of, I recommend that you read those books if you haven't. Plastic, Death and Dolls, I believe. There's 2 plastic books, right? And then there's Plush and Vinyl. All those books are great, and so is I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer. I thought it was pretty fun. Then we got G.I. Joe, a real American hero. Anyway, Silent Missions, G.I. Joe Silent Missions. This is going to be a series of one-shots celebrating the famous G.I. Joe 21 Snake Eye story. That was the silent issue, right? It's groundbreaking. It was really interesting, and it's just a fantastic comic. So they're paying homage to that in a series of one-shots available coming out, starting with Beachhead. This one's done by Phil Hester, so the artwork is cool. The story is interesting. It wasn't quite as easy to... It didn't have quite the impact as that original G.I. Joe 21, but it was cool, and I do appreciate that they're doing this and spotlighting different characters. I am a fan of Phil Hester, so I thought this was pretty freaking cool. And even if you haven't been reading G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, you can totally jump into that, and it's its own thing. And if you never got G.I. Joe issue number 21, it's available in a facsimile form that I would highly recommend that you pick up, and it's printed on pretty much a newsprint type material. It's one of the greatest G.I. Joe comics ever. I can't really say that as an expert. I've only read one G.I. Joe comic ever, and it's this one, so there you go. I do got that compendium, though, but this isn't a really cool comic. Definitely check it out, and it gets the smell of the week because it smells like groundbreaking comics. There you go. Hyde Street, issue number 5 is here. Ivan Reis is not on this issue. We have a guest artist. It is Francis Portela, and... it's still decent art. It's all right, but it's not Ivan Reis. It doesn't have that attention to detail. It doesn't have that textured touch. Kind of throws you out of it just a little bit, but it kind of fits the story because we're on that character that debuted in that book, Devour, where she's like the dietitian who's like selling diet pills or this diet shake to people. She's somebody on Hyde Street trying to take souls as well, and it is more of a continuation of her story and a little bit more of an in-depth look at her history. So it's a really cool story, and I like how in Hyde Street we're taking time right now to build up these individual characters while setting up the threat to then kick the book off into second gear once we hit what will be Arc 2, basically, right? Then we also got Hornsby and Halo, issue number 5. This book is so up and down for me. It really is. Like, issue number 1 I liked. Issue number 2 I didn't. Issue number 3 I liked. Issue number 4 I liked even. I thought, 2 and 3 I thought were waning. That's right. 4 I liked. 5, it's just kind of dumb. It's just repeating stuff we already know. It feels like it's written down to a kid's level. This is what it really feels like. It just, I don't know. It's an okay book, but like, it feels like we're wasting time with issues like issue 5, where it's just, yeah, we already know this. Just kind of get this out of the way and let's move on. I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly critical, but this book is up and down for me. I'll be interested, and then I'll have an issue like this where I'm like, I don't know if I want to come back and read anymore. Because it just feels like a story I've read a million times. I don't know. Then we've got The Lucky Devils here with issue number 3. And issue number 1 I thought was interesting. It's a story about, like, devils are real, and they're supposed to tempt humans, and they get points and rise in the system or something by getting humans to influence negatively more people. They got this scheme they've cooked up. It's starting to get convoluted for me already. It's starting to get a little bogged down by the weight of its own ideas at times. So it's interesting, but it's not keeping my attention like their work on 8 Billion Genies did. This is Charles Soule and Ryan Brown. It's interesting enough, but like if issue 4 drops on a bigger week, I may wind up skipping it. We got a new Spawn Universe title. It is Black Ritual, the Book of Nyx, issue number 1 of 7-issue miniseries, written by Thomas Healy with artwork by Nat Jones. I like the artwork. The artwork has a really cool texture to it. It's got some grit. Something that I feel has been missing in some of the Spawn books lately is I like the big, explosive, cool, sleek, superhero-y type stuff, but I also really like the dark, gritty, gnarly type stuff too. That art reflects this. The story though, the story was kind of all over the place. It didn't really work for me. It felt kind of jumpy and disjointed. So I don't know if I'm going to step back to this, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like super plugged in. It feels like it's just revealing more about the character of Nyx or something. So I don't know. Take it or leave it. Then we got The Scorched, issue number 39. And this was an alright issue of The Scorched. A lot of things do happen, but none of it really happens in a truly exciting way. They move some pieces forward into the next journey. They're in the next part of the journey. So what's crazy is that there was movement in this issue, but it also felt like a placeholder issue. The artwork didn't really have a lot of excitement to it either. So this was one of the weaker issues of Scorched. It happens. I guess it happens with Hornsby and Halo too. All right, from Mad Cave, we got a new one called Pastime, issue number 1. Immediately taken by this because of the cover. I think the cover is great. Plus, it's related to baseball. I love baseball. Go Yankees. Season just started. Things are looking good. But Pastime is a horror story involving old school baseball. I like the historical baseball approach to it, but it's not winning me over right now with the supernatural horror element because that still feels a bit murky and unclear and just a little bit muddy. It doesn't quite nail that concept for me and keep my interested in that part of the story. It left me with more questions than answers, and I don't mean that in a good way. And that can be something that is done in a good way, but it wasn't necessarily done in a good way here in Pastime. So this book has potential, but it really depends on what gets revealed and what gets set up, or paid off, I should say, in issue number 2. All right, then we got I almost said Pop Boom, Pop Kill. No, Pop Kill, issue number, it's messed me up, there's so many. Pop Kill, issue number 2. This is a cool story. It's 2 rival soda companies that are involved in like heinous, illegal, corporate espionage and killing and all this kind of stuff. And there's this woman who's developed this formula to have soda keep its carbonation longer, and they're all fighting over it. There's this like secret agent involved. It's got like this criminal James Bond element to it. It's fun, it's light. The art is okay. It could be a little bit better. It does break down some of the art sequences, like the fighting sequences, pretty well. So nothing really stands out about the art, but I guess it gets the job done. But the story and the concept's actually pretty interesting. And these covers by Dave Johnson, who is, of course, the co-writer along with Jimmy Palmiotti, is just really cool. But I like the book. I think it's fun enough in concept alone. All right, then we got Plague House, issue number 1. This is a new one from Oni Press. This is written by Michael W. Conrad with Dave Shishholm on the art. I really liked this book. I was really surprised by that. Not that I thought it was going to be bad. It just wasn't on my radar. But I love the coloring. I liked the artwork. I loved the panel design and the page composition. The flow of the story is really good. And sometimes I think that Michael W. Conrad can be, I don't know, I always found him to be somewhat verbose at times, but that's not the case here. It reads and has the pace of a Mignola comic, right? It has a really deliberate nature to it, and it's very interesting. It's about a team of paranormal investigators. One's a skeptic, one's like a priest, and one is a dude who's seen some shit and has a mystery that's attached to him. That's a great setup. That sets up just enough mystery for us to want to come back into, but not be frustrated that it didn't give us enough of a punch. But most of this issue is this dude narrating and talking about his team, giving us the world and building it out and just telling us what they do and what the difference is between some BS and an actual haunting and then setting up the mystery. I liked it. Plague House was cool. If you like Mike Mignola work, if you like horror in comics, I would recommend you check this one out. Then we got from Dark Horse, We got Let This One Be a Devil. This is a James Tynion, Steve Fox, I believe. Yeah, Steve Fox with Fyodor Kowalski on the artwork. Really love the artwork. He's amazing. This is basically the story of the Leeds Devil, the Jersey Devil, and it's basically showing us all these different legends and urban myths about what it is. It's kind of like what Blue Book is to aliens and UFOs and that stuff. This book is to the Jersey Devil. So it tells us a few different iterations of the story, and it has a cool black and white other story in the back. That's interesting as well. So it fits along with the whole true weird stuff, which I think Blue Book is a part of that. Basically more like dramatized episodes of Unsolved Mysteries, in a way. Or some really cool stuff, actually. So the first issue didn't really quite win me over. In the second issue, I think I get more what they're doing. Just kind of giving us the different tales. And I like it. All right. Then we got from IDW, Godzilla Heist issue number 2. I wasn't really super wooed away. Wooed away? I wasn't really wowed away, blown away. I don't know. I wasn't really super into issue number 1. But I did give issue number 2 a try. And I like some of the artwork, but the story's just not quite doing it for me. It's all right. But this cover, this variant cover, cover B, and the artist is not on the credits there. The art is by Pablo Tunica. That's an homage to Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. So, because of that cut, because I love that movie, cover of the week right there. There you go. Cover of the week. Hey man, I love Tokyo Drift too. That's pretty freaking cool. And then finally from AWA, we've got Polis, something like that. So it's Welcome to the World of Protopius. This new science fiction anthology series from AWA and Futurific Studios that explores the many possible futures that can come to pass as we try to make the right choices in imperfect realities. So these are stories. It's going to be a series of one-shots, each by a different creative team. This one's by Mark Russell and Lacey, and they're all going to be about dealing with the problems of our current environmental state and stuff like that, or current political state or whatever, right? Just current state of reality. How could we envision a better future? And I like that idea because so many of our stories, we forecast doom and gloom into the future. So it'd be nice to have some more stories that project like no, we're actually going to figure all this shit out and we're going to be better, right? So this is a story written by Mark Russell that is about these floating free cities out in the ocean that are this glorious technology, self-sustaining. They can move out of the way of storms. They can anchor themselves down and go to pick up refugees and stuff like that. And it's kind of about that idea. And it's got a lot of cool concepts. The art's all right. Art's cool. It's not like anything super magnificent, but it gets the job done and tells the story. And the story's pretty damn interesting. It's a pretty thick book. It takes you a while to read. It's $6.99. This might be some good bang for your buck. And then at the end, there's a lot of stuff, like a lot of back matter, including stuff about the comic, but also stuff about like how we could actually utilize some of these ideas into technology to have like things be more sustainable and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. I thought that was neat. So there you go. All right, so let's recap. Polis, whatever, that was actually a pretty interesting book, and that's an interesting concept. Cover of the week goes to Godzilla Heist. Han's just the best. Let This One Be a Devil, issue number 2. Makes its mission statement a little bit more clear for me in issue number 2, and I like it a little bit more because of that. Plague House number 1 is a really great comic for horror fans. Pop Kill is okay, but it's the story idea, the concept. It really just kind of hooks me in. I would love that as a movie. Pastime, half of it's pretty solid, half works, half doesn't. We got to see what happens in issue number 2. Scorched 39 was one of those weaker issues of Scorched. Black Ritual, the Book of Nyx, didn't really work for me, though the art has some nice grit to it that I like. Lucky Devils was losing me a little bit. So is Hornsby and Halo. Hyde Street, though, still has me pulled in and interested, and I'm loving the structure there. G.I. Joe goes silent with issue number 21, Facsimile, and then we got the Beachhead Silent Mission Special. Definitely worth it for Joe fans. I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer was fun as hell. Batman Hush in foil edition. Poison Ivy do what Poison Ivy do, which is just be great. Batgirl ended its first arc really, really solidly. Mark Spears cover on the Atom Project, plus the book's starting to heat up 100%. JSA, crazy things happen in the story. Read it. Resurrection Man, Quantum Karma. You can consider it like the co-pick of the week. Interesting things being done with a very interesting concept that's not utilized near enough. Absolute Superman was really good. I liked it. This book is getting better and better, and I liked how they integrated the Smallville farm stuff in. Absolute Green Lantern didn't really work for me at first, but on a reread, it did kind of click a little bit better, and I like some of these darker interpretations of what's going on with Green Lantern mythology. Ultimate X-Men had me a little bit lost this week. Moon Knight was super fun. Psylocke was solid as well, though the artwork was not quite as good as it has been. X-Men number 14 has Stegman back, and it's a pretty solid story. All New Venom was dumb as fuck. Straight up. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur was charming and fun. If you're a fan, check it out. Concert of Champions wasn't quite for me. Ironheart Bad Chemistry was just alright. Kind of, just give her like a miniseries or something. Marvel Rivals was actually a pretty decent one-shot based on a game that I don't play. So I kind of liked it. Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe one last time. It was actually pretty fun. But the pick of the week, I'm going to give it to Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. It is wearing its influences on its sleeves, but I think it is doing its influences a pretty solid job with its own flair to it. So I like it. Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell. There you go. That's what I read. That's what I thought. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been rocking Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop. Boom!